Unfortunately, there are plenty of areas through the minor leagues where we feel really good about the talent that we've amassed. But to improve the major league team, we have to make difficult decisions and trade good players. And those decisions are never easy. My guess is we traded a lot of major league talent today. But this is where we are, and I think the team has shown that they deserve to be reinforced.
That is middling prospect murderer Craig Breslow after trading 10 of them in the last, 72 hours, whatever that is. Craig Breslow speaking on the trade deadline yesterday, which is where we begin tonight on the Baseball Hour. No Maz, so it's me, McCarthy. Sorry about that. Jimmy Stewart's here, and Jared Carrabis. Underdog Fantasy, you know him, Section 10, you name it. Jared, I acknowledge you.
Thank you.
You know who also acknowledges you?
Who's that?
Blue Moon Belgian White.
Yeah, that's right.
Be sure to relax and enjoy the ball game with Blue Moon Belgian White. Blue Moon, born in a ballpark and brewed for baseball. They present Jared Carrabis each and every week here on the Baseball Hour. Phone lines open for you at 617-779-0985. Ton to get into this week, Jared. Let's just jump right in. How you feeling about the trading deadline?
I feel encouraged. I feel safe. I feel supported. I feel good. Yeah, I mean, I wasn't expecting some big trade. I wasn't expecting at 6 p.m. to be like, I can't believe that Meyer, Teal, or Anthony's not here anymore. Those guys are still here. Alex Cora wanted a couple of relievers. He got a couple of relievers. He wanted a starter. He got a starter. I mean, I don't know, outside of maybe getting Rengifo over here to help out in the infield and hit from both sides, I can't complain too much, but the spoiled kid on Christmas in me was maybe holding out hope for some sort of unforeseen blockbuster type deal. Maybe not a blockbuster, but some sort of deal where I was like, wow, didn't expect that. But I'm not going to complain just because it didn't happen.
What's your grade then?
I think I was at a C-.
Wait a minute. Hold on. How is your grade a C-, yet you're saying you feel good about the deadline? That doesn't seem to compute with me.
Well, I don't think that really anybody got an A. Like maybe the Dodgers.
Tough grader over here.
You look around the classroom here, and who outside of the Dodgers got an A?
Well, in that case, wouldn't you grade on a curve?
No. Because I mean, an A is capable. You're capable of doing it. It's possible. That was an A trade deadline within reach for the Red Sox. Yeah, but I think they needed a couple arms. They got a couple arms. Were they elite, unbelievable arms? No. I mean, you traded Nick York. It was kind of like a project for a project type deal. I guess we'll see what that amounts to. But in the immediate, if you're trying to make a deal in order to help the 2024 Boston Red Sox, then you can't really look at that and be like, well, that was a good trade. That might be a good trade 2-3 years from now, from a former first-round talent. But yeah, I'm like right there in the middle. It was average.
Yeah, I think you kind of summed it up. It is an average trading deadline. You should want more as a Red Sox fan. Like the Boston Red Sox should, always strive to, be aggressive and just be the Red Sox. Like this is not the type of deadline you came to expect from this team over the course of 20 years. That does not, however, Jared, change the fact that they did improve this team at this deadline. Like I said last night to Jimmy Stewart, he said I couldn't have this take. It was unfair of me to have this take. I needed to pick a side. I said, is it possible to have a decent deadline and also be underwhelmed? Because that's how I feel about this.
That's where I am too. Yeah, I'm underwhelmed only because the expectations haven't been close to being met in the last couple of years. Like you want to talk underwhelmed, you want to talk about the last couple of trade deadlines after 2021. I mean, 21 was fine, but 22, 23. Super underwhelmed. The off seasons on top of that were super underwhelming. And again, I didn't have super high expectations for this. I was just like, all right, yeah, like, if you can get a starter. I mean, I think where it's underwhelming is it's like you got a starter that you already had. That's the underwhelming part of it. It's like, oh, it would have been great to get Jack Flaherty over here. If Jack Flaherty got traded to Boston, I'd be stoked. That's a B+ for me.
They're better, though. They're better, so I'll give them that. Here's what I'll say. They improved the bullpen, which is the biggest takeaway from this deadline for me. Like, that's the area of most significant improvement for this team. I don't feel great about the Paxton thing. I don't hate the Paxton thing. They're better off that they have Paxton. It's better off than, going bullpen days every 5 days or Cooper Criswell or whatever you were trying to do, to get through. So they improved there. Where they have not improved to me, Jared, is in the lineup. They needed another right-handed hitter. I know Danny Jansen has been okay since coming over, but that to me is not an impact right-handed hitter. You may have improved your backup catcher situation, but they needed to be better in the starting lineup. So they got better, but I also feel like they stopped short. I think both of those things can be true. If they added Luis Rengifo, if they added Jack Flaherty, of course you feel different about the deadline. That doesn't change the fact that they got better and they improved, but it's okay for me, I think, as a Red Sox fan, Jared, to have wanted a little bit more. Like, you can say both of those things. Both those things are true.
I'm with you. Yeah, and I think a little bit more. So I think when you kind of look at the market, right? You say Kikuchi goes to the Houston Astros, and Astros fans are heated at what they had to give up, and that kind of screwed up the market for everyone else. Like, if that's what the price is for someone like Kikuchi, then it's going to get jacked up for some of these other arms. I think Cora was talking before the game today about how. They were shopping around for some relievers, and the names that were being requested were Roman Anthony and Marcelo Meyer. Like, get real. Like, that's just not going to happen. But I think the Tigers specifically, they screwed up. They had a deal in place with the Yankees, and I think that they just kind of panicked last minute. And they're like, we need to get something for Flaherty. Like, we're not making the playoffs, and this is a rental. We need to get something. And the deal that ended up going down with L.A., I mean, the Dodgers did not give up nearly as much as what I thought Flaherty was going to go for based on what other arms were going for.
So should the Red Sox have been in on that?
Yes.
So you hold that against Craig Breslow?
Maybe he didn't know. I can't really...
Isn't that his job?
Potentially, I guess. But I think all this stuff sort of happened last minute. Like, how many minutes left in the deadline were there when you saw Flaherty to L.A.? Like 20? Yeah, so, I mean, like, by the time you have that information, it's like, what can you really put together? I don't know.
Are the Red Sox a playoff team coming out of this deadline, yes or no?
I'm going to stick with yes.
You don't sound too convinced.
No. I mean, I can't sit here and guarantee that for you. I still feel good.
This is Sports Talk Radio. You're supposed to guarantee something for me.
I guarantee the Red Sox are going to the playoffs.
Okay, good, because I feel that way, too. I think they did just enough yesterday. Just enough. Did I want it to be more? Yes. But, let me tell you, after that game last night, Chaim Bloom's, sorry, I can't believe I did that. Freudian slip. That was bad. I'm sorry, Craig Breslow. I deeply apologize to you. I can't believe I insulted you in that way. Craig Breslow did enough at this deadline after watching that game last night. That deadline looks better after watching that game last night. And the bullpen arms they were trotting out there, Zach Kelly, Johan Ramirez. Oh boy. That guy. That was rough.
Immediately.
It's bad when you show up for one game and they fire you. They get rid of you. See you later. Breslow improved the bullpen just enough. I think they squeak into the playoffs. That's how I feel coming out of the deadline.
We're watching it right now. Lucas Sims is into this game, and my immediate reaction to the Lucas Sims trade was, yeah, he's got a nice ERA, but there's going to be a lot of traffic. He walks guys. He gives up some hits. He does escape jams. And that's exactly what just happened. He walked the first batter he faced to load the bases and then got out of the jam. But what he's really good at is avoiding hard contact. And you just got the weak ground at a third, end of the inning. So, yeah, I mean, I'm pleasantly surprised with some of the... So here's kind of like a question that I'll pass over to you now. Do you think that the deadline should be pushed back a couple of weeks?
In this day and age in baseball, yes, because too many teams are unwilling to commit to buying or selling by July 31st.
Like the next team that we're about to play, the Texas Rangers, like they didn't go into full sell mode. Why? Oh, because they're 3 games back. Cool. Well, they're also 3 games under 500. Like you're not in defending the World Series title mode right now.
Yeah,
like
it should
recognize
be August 15th.
that and start punting and. Talk about guys that it's underwhelming that James Paxton is the one starter you got. I would have been super excited if Nathan Eovaldi ended up back in Boston.
Yeah,
that's the only starter I believe that's been named for that series so far coming up.
Yeah, that would have been a perfect fit for them. It ultimately did not happen. Did they do enough? I tend to think just enough. Just enough.
Just enough for what though? Just to
enough
get there?
to make the playoffs? Yeah, but that's the name of the game in baseball at this point, Jared. It is.
I'm happy with that. All I care about this year is getting there.
Now, do I want it to be more? Should you want it to be more as a Red Sox fan? Of course. Of course you should have wanted more from the deadline yesterday. But at least, and you know what this speaks to, Jared? It's that the bar has been lowered. The bar's been lowered so much that a deadline like yesterday, which you put it a C-, I put it a C+, we're talking about it like it's a good thing. But that's because it's a significant improvement from what Chaim Bloom would have done and what you've experienced over the course of the last 3-4 years as a Red Sox fan. But doesn't that speak to the bigger problems that exist with the franchise? Like, the bar has been lowered so much that a deadline like yesterday, you and I can kind of come in here and listen, we're lukewarm about it, right? But we can say, I guess it's enough and I guess it's a good thing. That just speaks to the state of the franchise, and I hate that. Can't stand that. That's what we have to deal with.
The bar has been low for a while, though. Like, I know that I've said this before, but where I'm at on this 2024 team, and so far I'm happy, right? They needed to overachieve. They did. You needed Craig Breslow in his first year to buy in. He did. They needed to find a way to convince Alex Cora to stay here. They did. You just have to get to the playoffs. Because for being a Red Sox fan, it's very seldom have they made it to October and not at least made it to the ALCS. Like, when they get there, they go. 2009, I think, is the only year where it was like they got there and they just showed up. That was it. Every other time, it's like ALCS.
Yeah, 16, 17, but they were building something.
Yeah, 16, I mean, they got their asses kicked by Cleveland. But 17, they ran up against the 2017 Astros, and we know what they were doing. But every other year, it's been
like the Red Sox weren't the next year.
They were not. They were not.
The Red Sox were not stealing signs?
No.
Alex Cora wasn't stealing signs?
No, the league investigated. We were innocent of all charges.
You don't believe that.
Of course I do. We didn't do it. Jimmy Stewart, did we do anything in 2018?
Won the World Series.
Won the World Series. That's what we did. That's my manager.
Fact, not opinion.
But what I'm saying is, like, I am fine.
We tell the truth, Matt.
Oh, no, we definitely, always on this station. If there's one thing we're known for, Jimmy.
It's telling the truth.
Telling the truth. Thank God you have us.
As we see it.
Yes.
Correct. I've lowered the bar to I'm happy just to get there in 2024 because I want this group to at least experience October. It's not about winning the World Series this year. If they happen to fall ass backwards into a championship, I'm stoked about that. But this, to me, is not the year. They didn't make any go-for-it moves. The moves that were made were, let's support these guys because they played their asses off to get to this point, and they deserve it.
There's one move that Craig Breslow made that I particularly liked. I will explain why. He also had some comments that I really did not like. We'll get into those next. Jared Carrabis is here, and we have room for you. 617-779-0985. It's McCarthy. Stu's here. We got the tribal chief of baseball, who we acknowledge. All in for Maz tonight on the Baseball Hour.
Stay tuned for more of the Baseball Hour coming up on the Sports Hub.
Hey, it's Maz from Big...
confident. And you never want to put a ton of pressure on any individual player, but I think the combination of getting guys like Tristan and Tristan and Vaughn back, and Trevor's talked about his interest and deep desire to come back and impact our team this year, plus getting Martin back and Slayton back, and Liam is making a ton of progress. So I think there are enough kind of pieces out there to feel like Alex has a really versatile bench, a number of options down in the bullpen, and we'll see how it plays out.
All right, I've been a Craig Breslow guy. I cannot defend those comments. Matt McCarthy, Jared Carrabis. Once you start talking about the guys who are going to come back and have an impact, it's almost like we have these guys too, and there are real trade deadline acquisitions. It had a little hint of that, and I didn't like that. I'm not counting on Tristan Casas to come back and be healthy. I'm not counting on Vaughn Grissom to come back and give you anything.
I don't need Vaughn Grissom right now. I need Tristan Casas. You don't believe in his ability to come back? What was he, 0 for 3 last night, a couple of strikeouts? But I am counting on Tristan Casas to come back.
So it's not that I don't believe in him. It's that I worry about that injury. It's a weird freak injury, and what's he going to be like when he comes back? See, I think they left this team short. This is where I'll criticize Breslow at the deadline. Jared Carrabis is here. Jimmy's here. McCarthy in for Maz. They didn't do enough to help this lineup because I just don't know what Casas is going to give them. And the Trevor story, he wants to come back, please. A, I don't think he's coming back. B, I don't want him back. I don't want Trevor Story trying to figure out how to hit a big league breaking ball for the first time in 5 years in the final week of September when you're trying to make the playoffs. You already have Rafael at short who can play there. I don't want Trevor Story anywhere near this team. So that I do have issues with those comments. The Martin and Slayton stuff where he says those guys are coming back, that's true, and they need that. But I don't know. I always get that. Always bothers me, Jared, when a general manager comes out and says that.
Listen, we actually just we did tie in the 8th, so now we're live.
Jared Carrabis, all right.
We're live streaming.
He is doing double duty today.
Double duty.
So for the Sports Hub people who don't know what you do.
Yeah. So
what do you do in the 8th inning?
I believe this started in 2020, where we just had this gimmick where I think Steve came up with it. He's like, yeah, like we should live stream like during special situations. And it's like, well, what situation? Like, I don't know, like maybe like when they are tied in the 8th, we'll just call it tied in the 8th. So for 5 seasons now, anytime that the Red Sox have tied the game, we just go live. So that's what's going on right now is we are currently live streaming while doing the baseball hour.
Where's your attention being devoted? Is it being devoted to me and the Sports Hub people, or is it being devoted to Steve and Milliken and the rest of you?
Well, Steve and Milliken aren't even in the room right now.
Where are they? Let's talk about some dedication right here.
Yeah, Milliken's always late. Steve has an excused absence every time. Like he has a pre-stream ritual that he participates in. But my attention, if we're being honest, is on this game. I mean, as you mentioned, like this is a tiebreaker game. It's tied in the 8th. It's 2-2. It shouldn't be. There's a funky play just took place.
I mean, Tyler O'Neill's got to get back to the base.
Yes.
And he's called out for obstruction.
Yep.
That's a joke. And Cora seemed like he was trying to get thrown out.
Yeah.
That was a bad play. Bad play by O'Neill.
But the infield fly rule was called, just to describe to those who are listening out there. Infield fly rule was called. Tyler O'Neill's trying to get back to the base, and the first baseman won't let him.
No.
And Tyler O'Neill is called out for obstruction.
No, Jimmy, I think
Even though the second baseman was the one who made the catch.
You and I saw the play completely differently. O'Neill was lackadaisical in getting back to the bag, and the first baseman had to go around him in an attempt to field the ball. That's interference. Tyler O'Neill is out.
I'm not so sure about that.
Well, we'll watch the play in the commercial break. I think they actually got that one right. Tyler O'Neill, you want to talk about somebody who's had his head up his ass for the last week when it comes to routine big league plays. He cost them that game against the Yankees on Saturday. I hope he doesn't cost them in this game because, Jared, to your point, one of the biggest games of the year for the Red Sox. This is a tiebreaker game. The winner of today's game could make the playoffs as a result of today because they've eliminated Game 163. If the Red Sox and the Mariners are tied for the final wild card spot, which is certainly not far-fetched, it's certainly possible, the outcome of today's game could determine who goes to the playoffs and who misses the playoffs.
That's a lot of nerves. And we got Winky out there right now. Shout out to Josh Winkowski. I feel like at this point, Alex Cora is going to end up managing this game as though it's a playoff game, because you know that he's aware of the whole tiebreaker scenario, and it's not like the Mariners are going to go away. They have one of the best pitching staffs in Major League Baseball. Their offense stinks. They didn't stink last night, but that it's a nerve-wracking game, McCarthy.
It is. It's a big one. Did the Mariners do more than the Red Sox at the deadline? Yes or no?
No. I mean, no. They ended up going to getting Justin Turner and Randy Arozarena, but they needed far more than that. I mean, they needed to upgrade almost at every single defensive position offensively except for catcher. Nah, there was nothing that they could do.
So I mentioned there was a move that Bloom met. I did it again. I should stop doing this.
Why do you do that?
Jim Murray has this in my head.
You can't get Hein Bloom off the brain.
You're right. Well, I mean, how could you? How could you escape the stench of the Hein Bloom era, Jared? How can you ever possibly forget that?
I'm a Hein guy.
I know you're a Hein guy. Yeah, you like bad general managers. I understand that.
I love Hein.
Yeah. Not a good GM, Jared. Not a good GM.
One of the best.
The Luis Garcia trade is a deal that Hein Bloom never, ever would have made. Agree or disagree?
Oh, never. No. I mean, 4 prospects for a rental arm that's 37 years old. Like, no, that's not happening. Lugo, I mean, he's hitting very well in Double-A. And then Nico Cavadas, that's someone that a lot of people were high on, at least from a power standpoint, leading the Woo Sox in home runs this year behind Bobby Dahlbeck. Bobby Dahlbeck was second on the Woo Sox in home runs this year. So yeah, I mean, you paid a little bit of a price for it, but it's what Alex Cora asked for. He said, "Get me some arms over here," and that's what they cost.
You paid no price for it, and this is something that's really bugged me, Jared. It's like, oh my God, they gave up 4 prospects. Would any of those guys have played a single meaningful inning for the Boston Red Sox moving forward?
No.
So then you didn't pay a price, and there's this whole
you gave up bodies. That was it.
Right, bodies. They called them prospects. Like, oh my God, you gave up Craig Breslow over the last week, traded 10 prospects, 5 of them in the top 30, 3 of them in the top 15. So people focus on these numbers and they focus on these prospect rankings and they say, how could you give up that much for a rental reliever? Good that you gave up that much for a rental reliever. I don't care what it costs you if it costs you guys who aren't going to play for you. I don't care what their number is. I don't care what their ranking is. I don't care if it's the 12th guy in your system, the 8th guy in your system, the 28th guy in your system. If that guy's not going to play for you and is not going to help your big league team eventually, trade him. I don't care that they gave up 4 bodies for Luis Garcia in a rental. That's good. That's what a good general manager does. And people said that was too much for Craig Breslow to give up. Well, he might help the Red Sox make the playoffs. This is going to come down to 1 game, 2 game. That's why this game today is so big. I mean, again, Lucas Sims arrives, gets 2 big outs. That could be the difference between you making the playoffs and missing the playoffs. And that's worth the 28th prospect in your system who's never going to play for you? Of course it is. And the people who push back against that and had an issue with the numbers, oh my God, the 13th prospect in your system, how could you give him up for a rental reliever? Thank God you gave him up for a rental reliever. This is why Craig Breslow is different than Hein Bloom.
100%. Yeah, you can't even have the debate on whether or not they're similar. Like this was very much an un-Heim-like trading deadline. Would you say that there was urgency? Is it like they didn't get greedy? Like Alex Cora said, let's get greedy. I don't think that they got greedy. But did they operate with urgency, in your opinion?
I don't know if urgency is the right word, but they did address some of their needs. Like if they operated with urgency, you would have had bullpen arms a week ago, right? Did they ignore their problems, which is what they did in the Hein Bloom era? No, they didn't do that. They addressed some of their issues. I wish they went a little bit further in addressing the lineup and maybe the starting rotation. But no, they operated with a measured aggression. I don't even know if aggression's the right word. They did so in a measured manner.
Yeah, they were tactical.
That's a good term.
Yeah,
tactical.
They were tactical.
Tactical in their moves.
They were efficient.
Yeah, I don't like efficiency.
No?
Be a little bit more aggressive. I would rather you be aggressive than efficient.
Okay. But I'll take tactical.
Jimmy, did you have something you wanted to jump in
I did. I'm kind of offended that Steve has muted you and tied in the 8th.
I muted myself.
Oh, okay.
Did he take credit for it?
I believe he did.
Oh,
I think he suggested it.
He's lying. Yeah, I can't even hear them. So, no, I muted myself because I'm a team player.
All right, 617-779-0985. Winkowski gets out of it. Big inning for the Red Sox there. Big game for the Red Sox. Majori will get you updated on that. There was something that happened last night that I need to talk to Carrabis about. And I see on the phone lines, I'm sorry I've neglected you. When I get to talk baseball with Jared, I don't know. I get into this one-on-one mode. We start talking, then I look down and I've got calls, and I say I should take care of the people. I don't get to do... Maz gets to do this every week. I don't get to do this every week.
He takes it for granted.
He sure does.
He does.
I don't take you for granted.
No, I know you don't.
I acknowledge you.
Thank you.
Here's Majori with the update.
Sports Hub.
A disaster. Wow. They needed the Tom Amansky instructional video. This is the instructional video that gets results. Matt McCarthy, Jared Carrabis. Listen, they've had plenty of innings like that this year, Jared. Plenty of innings. They're going to have a few more of them. They're a young baseball team. That's who they are. The real thing I want to talk about briefly in that game last night before we get back to the calls at 617-779-0985 is that Yohan Ramirez.
Ugh.
Wow. Wow. Can you believe that guy's been on 4 teams this year? Shocking, right?
It's crazy. He threw over someone's head. He hit 2 batters. He walked a guy, threw a ball to the backstop. I actually said, because I was doing the game on NESN Plus last night, I believe he pitched in the 6th. Was it the 6th or the 5th?
The 5th and the 6th.
Okay, so
he came back out.
Yes.
Because we all wanted more.
Right. At the end of the 6th, I said, if Alex Cora puts Yohan Ramirez back out for the 7th, he will be charged with attempted murder. Based on what we've seen him do in that game, it would have been wildly irresponsible to put him back on the mound.
That was something else last night, man. Dude, better start brushing up on your Korean, man. The KBO is calling your name. 4 teams in a year, Jared. 4 teams. How do you end up on 4 teams in a single big league season? Then I watched that guy come in last night and said, this explains it. Now I get it. Wow. That was something else.
Ask Caleb Ort, too, by the way.
Wow.
Yeah.
Abort. 617-779-0985. Let's go to Frank in Boston. Up next, McCarthy, Carrabis in from Mass.
Yeah, hi. I'm not sure they actually did improve that much at the deadline, nor am I sure they acted much differently than Chaim would have. And trust me, I'm no fan of Chaim, but let's walk through it. First 3 deals were basically meaningless. Paxton DFA'd. Righty catcher, righty scrub for a lefty scrub catcher, meaningless. 2 minor leaguers for each other, meaningless. So your 2 deadline deals were really the bullpen guys. Matt, as you said, they really didn't give up a lot to get them. I think they acquired bodies and not players. Neither of them is really good. That's why they were available at the end. I feel like they didn't act with urgency, as you pointed out. You do these deals 7 or 10 days ago. Maybe you steal a game or 2, which matters. And I feel like they improved themselves less than the people they're competing against. The deadline is getting relatively better. They actually got relatively worse.
I don't think they got worse. I'm going to let you go on that, Frank.
They definitely did not get worse.
We can talk about, whether they should have gotten better. I think, of course, they should have gotten better. They should have been more aggressive. And just to say, too, that those 2 bullpen guys are just guys, well, isn't that kind of what you need, Jared?
That's pretty much what they need. They don't need a closer. They have Kenley Jansen. They need someone who can pitch 7th, 8th, 6th, somewhere in there, and that's what they got.
Mike in Buffalo. Hey, Mike.
Yeah, the game has changed. I've been watching it since I'm 5 years old. I'm 75. You have to have a bullpen. You have to have a bullpen. These pitchers pitch 4, 5, 6, maybe 7 innings. And the Red Sox, to me, number one, they're not better than Kansas City, which they have to beat out. And they're not better than Minnesota, which they have to beat out. So I don't know the way you guys feel about it, but I don't see it happening. They didn't get anything that's going to impact them.
Well, you just said you can't win in baseball without a bullpen. They added 2 big league bullpen arms. So isn't that actually the argument why they will make the playoffs?
Didn't they take a series from Kansas City, if I'm not mistaken?
Listen, are they significantly better than Kansas City? No. I just think it's ridiculous to say they're not better than Kansas City at this point. They are absolutely on the same level. The Red Sox have, and I'm not using playoff odds to determine this, I'm using my eyes. The Red Sox have as good a chance as anybody, Jared, to get one of those wild card spots in the American League.
Especially with the teams that the caller mentioned. With Minnesota, I think you're better than Minnesota, and I think you're on even playing field with Kansas City. Like when you're looking at the 6th wild card spot, which is essentially what the Red Sox are gunning for here, though that's your competition, I feel pretty confident in saying that the Red Sox are better than Minnesota, and when they played head-to-head with Kansas City, they ended up proving to be the better team.
Let's go to Robert Newton. Hey, Robert.
Hey, do you guys think there's any chance of Houck or Crawford coming up to a innings limit this year? And would it be different with the new regime this year versus the last year regime? And does the breaking ball emphasis have any impact on it? Thanks.
Your thoughts?
No, I mean, these dudes are like pushing 30. Like, we're not talking about 21-year-old prospects. Like, I understand that, like, this is their first full season in the big leagues as starting pitchers, but it's not their first season in the big leagues, and they're not, they're not 21, 22 years old. It's not like a Paul Skeens, Jared Jones situation where you're going to try and limit their pitches or their innings. That probably would have been established in spring training. We would have been like, hey, we're going to take it easy with these guys. They kind of just left the reins off them and let them go. And what we're seeing is an all-star season from Tanner Houck, but I think the home run ball has plagued Cutter Crawford over the last week and a half, 2 weeks or so, and it hasn't been great. But throwing a rest day here, a rest day there, and you just gotta roll with it. You can't just be like, hey, in September we're gonna we've reached an innings limit with these guys and pull the plug on the whole season.
I'd lose my mind if they did that, and they're not going to do that. No. I do think the conversation more though is about effectiveness. It's not whether they're gonna shut these guys down in September. It's what they're gonna look like in September, given that Houck and Crawford, who are probably your two most important pitchers, and have been your two best pitchers this season. What are they going to look like in September, given the innings have piled up?
It doesn't look like it's going to be.
It doesn't look good. It does not look good right now.
But even with Cutter, it's like, he's hit a little bit of a wall and he's been giving up homers, but it's really just been the homers. It's not like he's getting tattooed all over the place. And I think when you look at Houck specifically, and Milliken is the one that pointed this out, it's been that his walk totals are higher than his strikeout totals. So before it was like, all right, he's punching out guys, he's not walking guys. Now he's walking more guys than he strikes out. So his inning situation, and that seems to be something that's forcing him to not throw strikes as effectively.
Let's go to Dean in Shrewsbury. Hey, Dean.
Hey, I think Cooper Criswell's a better starter overall than James Paxton. I understand he's right-handed and we really need a lefty, but I think he's better enough than James Paxton. It shouldn't matter that he's right-handed. I think Paxton is absolutely cashed. I just think he's too old.
You made that clear last night, Dean. I know you're not a James Paxton guy. I just disagree with that. I don't think Paxton was. I thought Paxton looked fine last night. He's a fifth starter. And listen, if Cooper Criswell were really going to be that guy, he would have established himself as that guy already. They needed to improve their starting rotation. They did, sort of.
In a way. We're watching Jansen pitch to Jansen for the first time. Just made a hell of a play.
Might have made it a little bit more difficult than it needed to be.
Potentially. But, I mean, I think it's funny because I don't know if you heard, but Breslow was on the air earlier in the game, and he was saying how, he's like, we really like Danny Jansen because he's got a lot of power to the pull side. And he ended up tying this game on a dinky little base hit through the right side.
Good day for Craig Breslow. Danny Jansen, big hit. Dom Smith scoring the tying run.
Lucas Sims got some big outs.
Lucas Sims, big time in the seventh inning. The margins, that's the way to describe this deadline, Jared. They improved on the margins, and the margins have been good. The question is that good enough to make the playoffs? 617-779-0985. How's that live stream going?
I haven't been paying attention. Milliken's still in there. He's looking beautiful.
I'm sure he is.
Yeah.
I'm very popular on that thing, by the way. In the comments when I popped on during the commercial break, the people, trust me, the Section 10 people love me because I've, criticized the Red Sox occasionally
sometimes
over the last few years. So
fair or unfair, I don't know.
I'm very, well, I was obviously very fair. And, more importantly, fair or unfair, Jared, I was right, which I'm sure you would agnowledge.
I would always acknowledge that.
Chaim Bloom was a bad general manager. It'd be nice if you said that.
I don't know if I can go there.
I think you should go there.
I don't think I'm going to go there. I think he would be a great farm director.
That does not make you a good general manager, so hence, you can say it. It'll be all right.
It's TBD.
You can. Chaim Bloom was a bad general manager. Craig Breslow did things yesterday that Chaim Bloom never would have done. That's a good thing. That might get the Red Sox to the playoffs. Isn't that what matters?
Yes. I think ultimately, all right, so here's the big difference between Chaim and Breslow that we've already just seen. Having conviction. Come out and tell me that this team is worth investing in. He did that. And then show me that they're worth investing in. And he did that. So that's why I'm satisfied. Like I think if you are a player in that clubhouse, McCarthy, are you saying today I feel supported by the powers that
Mostly.
be. Yes.
Mostly. You're saying it's certainly better than it's been in recent years. Would you have wanted a little bit more? Yeah, you should want a little bit more. As a Red Sox fan, as a Red Sox player, even Alex Cora, who should want a little bit more.
But not not at the cost of a Roman Anthony or a Marcelo Meyer. You're not doing that.
Not for a bullpen arm.
No, not even for a starter.
That's where I disagree with you. For a Scooble?
Maybe
Yeah.
that's the one guy. I don't want Garrett Crochet right now.
Talk about those comments from Garrett Crochet.
Yeah.
He spoke again today.
Did he really?
Yeah,
What did he say today?
as to why he was not traded. Well, we can do that coming up. We continue. It's Carrabis, McCarthy, Stu in for Maz on the Baseball Hour.
This is the Baseball Hour.
McCarthy and Carrabis in for Maz tonight. Before I get to these Garrett Crochet comments, do you trust Kenley Jansen, Jared?
Yes, but at this particular moment in time, no. It looks like he's just pitching injured right now. Like it was very odd. He warmed up in the bullpen, but then he walked from the bullpen to the dugout. I don't know why that happened. And then he was just wincing on the mound. Alex Cora came out with the trainer, and he stayed in the game for whatever reason and just threw a ball to the backstop. So, do I trust him in this exact spot right now? No, I don't feel great about this at all.
Has he made you feel good since the...
Okay, but he's going to get out of
nice
it.
play. Nice play by Dom Smith,
Get out of
who
it.
was brought in by a good general manager who cares about the big league team, I might add.
Heim?
No.
I thought you were talking about Kenley.
No, I was talking about Dom Smith.
Well, Heim got Kenley, so.
Correct.
Yep.
Yeah, it's relatively easy move.
Cora got
there.
Kenley.
Yeah.
That's probably true.
Real quick on Garrett Crochet. So,
yes, please.
You know, he said before the trading deadline that he was not interested in pitching in October unless he got an extension.
Yes.
He added today, whether or not he was asked about that, whether that hurt his trade value, Crochet was going to be one of the premier guys dealt at this deadline. It really felt like the White Sox were going to move him. They ultimately did not move him after he came out and tanked his market. Because why would you trade for a guy who you have under team control for the next 3 years, who you're then going to pay when you don't have to get him to pitch in October, and he won't pitch in October? So why the hell would you trade for him? He came out today and said, quote, whether or not a deal went through, I don't think it was dependent on me saying that I was going to pitch in October.
What an idiot. Come on. Like, that had no bearing on whether or not you got traded? Come on.
I would have called his bluff. If you could have gotten him for a discount, I would have called his bluff. And ultimately, it doesn't look like the White Sox were going to give him away for a song, but I would have brought a guy like in here like that and said, oh, you don't want to pitch in October? Tell that to your teammates.
Right.
Tell that to the fans.
He definitely would not have sat out the month of October. Especially because I think, how many years of control does he have after that? 3?
Yeah.
Something like that? You're not going to do that. You're not going to stay in the same clubhouse and look your teammates in the eyes being like, yeah, you guys worked all year to make it to the postseason, and you gave up very valuable assets to bring me here. I'm just going to sit this one out.
Final thoughts on the deadline, Jared. Who was the big winner yesterday? Who was the big loser?
You know what? It's kind of looking like the Yankees, McCarthy.
They didn't get Jack Flaherty.
They didn't get Jack Flaherty, but they got Jazz Chisholm, who's hit 4 home runs in 3 games, and it looks like they're having fun again, which I hate. You know, it looks like they are. They went through a real tough stretch there, where they were quite literally the worst team in baseball, and they beat up on the Red Sox, and now they just swept the Phillies, the best team in arguably all of baseball, and Jazz was kind of at the forefront of that. So it seems like adding Jazz has been a little bit of a culture shift in the Bronx.
Jared, as always, it's been fun, bud.
It's been a pleasure.
Good to see you.
Let's do this again soon.
I'm sure we will. There's no way Maz... trust me, Maz has plenty more time off coming up, I would assume. So I'm going to guess we're going to do at least a few more of these this summer. Thanks to Jimmy Stewart. Thanks to Kevin Majori. Thanks to Jared Carrabis. It's McCarthy. I'll talk to you tomorrow. See ya.